Peace and blessings of God be upon you all. I'm really honored and humbled to see so many of you joining us today. For how many of you guys is the first time visiting our mosque? Wow! All right, thank you so much. This is a very humbling experience for me, and I'd like to thank you all for coming. My name is Wajid Danish Ahmed. I'm the PA director and the youth president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And today we've got quite a full agenda for you. We're going to start with a few verses of the Holy Quran, which is a tradition when we open our sessions and events. So we'll start with that. And then I'll be doing some welcome remarks and introduce to you what our community is all about. I think that hopefully it'll be beneficial for you all to hear that. And then we're going to have a special presentation to our friends and heroes of the Meriden police. And so our president is going to do that presentation. And then we'd like to introduce to you our special neighbor. So we have a very special surprise for you from that standpoint. And then we'll have guest speeches that we're going to do. State Senator is here. Thank you so much for joining us. And then also we have CCIU, the co-chair, Ritu is actually also joining us. And how many of the CCIU board members are here today? Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And actually I should raise my hand too, right? So, and then we're going to have our regional imam, Hamid Malik, who's actually going to talk about the true character of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon him. And then we'll invite some of the clergies to actually say a few words as well. I've got Pastor Norm here, but if there's any other clergies, our neighbors, friends, and part of our family, if you would like to say a few words, if you can please let Zahir know, Zahir Manan, if you can raise your hand, and he can take your name down and he can let me know. And then we're going to have a special presentation by our Vice President, Imam Saab, is going to talk about true Islam and the extremists. Which I'll also explain, why we're doing this and what it's all about. And then we're going to have a panel Q&A. Our U.S. Senator Blumenthal is expected to be here at 5 o'clock, which we'll start our dinner at that time. And then when he arrives, we'll just have to take a 2-minute break to have him address us as well. His schedule didn't allow for him to come sooner. And most important of all, we would love to have you have dinner with us. So we actually have a multicultural food items that we prepared for you. So we hope that you can break bread with us, get to know us, and then and only then can you leave. So please. With that, I'm actually going to invite Zahir Manan, who's our outreach director, to say a few verses from the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace be with you and the mercy and blessings of God. I'm going to present 2 verses from the Holy Quran, which is all Muslims' holy book. And first is going to be chapter 5, verse 9. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. The translation of this verse is, I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the accursed, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful. O ye who believe, be steadfast in the cause of Allah, bearing witness in equity, and let not a people's enmity incite you to act otherwise than with justice. Be always just. That is nearer to righteousness. And fear Allah alone. Surely Allah is well aware of what you do. I'm going to present one last verse from chapter 42, verse 41. وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا فَمَنْ عَفَا وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. And the recompense of an injury is an injury the like thereof. But whoso forgives and his act brings about reformation, his reward is with Allah. Surely Allah loves not the wrongdoers. Jazakumullah, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Zahir. So before I actually talk about our community, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I wanted to talk about Islam, right? And the question is, what is Islam? So Islam literally means peace and obedience. So that's the literal meaning of Islam. And I highlighted those two words because it's very important to understand that. And of course, Muslims are people interpreting the religion of Islam. And why do we have true Islam? We have true Islam because the extremist interpretations distort Islam, giving rise to the need for us to define what true Islam is. And later, our Imam is going to go into more detail of the true Islam and the key 11 points that are associated with that are the most distorted, that are taken out of context. So, in order to be a Muslim, you have to believe and follow two sources: the Holy Quran and the sayings and the conduct of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him. And the whole structure and building blocks of Islamic faith is based on one cardinal principle: the principle of the unity of the Creator, which is God, Allah. It's all the same, and the unity of humanity, which He has created. And when we say God, there are many qualities that we attribute to God. In fact, there are 99 attributes of God. But the most striking ones are the ones that are repetitively used throughout the Holy Quran. In particular, there are two qualities that are repeated at the beginning of each and every chapter of the Holy Quran, which is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And Rahman, which is the gracious, that's one of the qualities, and to Rahim, the merciful. Another quality that is stated over and over again is Rabbul Alameen, which is creator, sustainer of all the worlds, not just for Muslims, for all the worlds. The word Rabb implies that Allah, that God, is the creator and sustainer of the entire creation. Human beings, animal kingdom, and the whole universe. So now let's take a look at the structure of Islam. So the structure of Islam is made up of 6 articles of faith, which are building blocks of Islam, which are implemented through the 5 pillars of Islam, which I'll talk about briefly next. And a life of a Muslim is based on these 6 articles of faith and 5 pillars of Islam. And we say that unity is a central concept within Islam. And I'm not going to have time to go through all of the 6 articles of faith, but let's just take a look at one of them, which is belief in all of his prophets. So, according to the teachings of Islam, Muslims must believe that there were many prophets sent by God. So the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings of God be upon him, had predicted the future of Muslims in a conversation with God. And in the Holy Quran it says, and the messenger will say, O my Lord, my people indeed treated this Quran and disregarded this thing. And what that means is, and we see that today in the world that we live in, is that a time will come, the Holy Prophet prophesies, that a time will come that people will disregard or discard the Quran, the Holy Quran, meaning that people will treat it as if it's thrown behind their backs. So they will say that they follow the teachings of the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, but they'll take things out of context, and they really are not truly following the teachings of the Holy Quran and our Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet also prophesied that God wouldn't leave mankind to self-destruct, and that there would be a coming of the Messiah in the latter days. And so the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the only Islamic organization to believe the long-awaited Messiah who has come in the form of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. And Mirza Ghulam Ahmad claimed to be the metaphorical second coming of Jesus of Nazareth and the divine guide who Advent was foretold by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community believes that God sent Ahmad, like Jesus, to end religious wars, condemn bloodshed, and this was done, in 1900s, right? To condemn bloodshed and to reinstitute morality, justice, and peace. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the leading Islamic organization to categorically reject terrorism in any form. And over a century ago, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad emphatically declared that an aggressive jihad by the sword has no place in Islam. Absolutely no place in Islam. In its place, he taught us and all of the followers to wage a bloodless, intellectual jihad of the pen to defend Islam. And this is what we're doing. This is what all the Ahmadiyya Muslim communities, all over the world are following, that simple but important teaching. To this end, he penned over 90 books and tens of thousands of letters in defense of the true teachings of Islam. And our organization actually is the largest American international Muslim organization under a single leader. We are the oldest organization that established in America, a Muslim organization, which was established in the 1920s. Throughout the leadership of caliphates, which I'm going to introduce to you in a brief video that I have, we've been expanding all over the world as well. Through our leadership, we've been basically carrying out a lot of campaigns to fight against extremism. After 9/11, we started Muslims for Life, which was one way that we could give back to all the victims that were lost in the horrific tragedy of 9/11. So since then, we've been doing various blood drives all over the nation, all over the world, and including in our mosque, we have blood drives twice a year to give back to our community. Muslims for Peace was another campaign that we have been doing for a long time. Muslims for Loyalty, one of the pinnacle key teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him, is that you have to be loyal to your country. And that's one of the points that we have that are, again, taken out of context as well and are key to being a Muslim. And also True Islam, which is going on right now, and Stop the Crisis campaign. One of the key things that President Obama, following the San Bernardino shooting, which again, horrific tragedy, he had asked Muslim leaders around the globe to decisively, stand against and reject the ideologies of groups like ISIS. And this is exactly what we have been doing. Not recently, not in the past couple of years, but for the past 100 years. And with that, our current leader of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, who's the Khalifa of Islam, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, is the spiritual leader of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And this is what he's been doing and carrying out that task and instilling it amongst all the chapters of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in the United States as well as all over the world. Over a century ago, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad reminded his followers to safeguard the message of Islam through Khilafat or Caliphate, which means a spiritual institution of successorship to prophethood. And so our current Khalifa, his name is Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, who's based in London, UK. He's a humanitarian champion of peace and advocate of absolute justice, kindness, and kinship. And I've got a brief video that I'm going to actually play to you to introduce more about our leader and the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. So if you'll take a few minutes in joining me in listening to that.
I will, God willing, always continue to carry out my task and my responsibilities of promoting peace, tolerance, justice, and compassion to the corners of the world. I will continue to tell all people that in order to be relieved of the pain and suffering that we face today, we must adopt true justice and equality.
Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad is the present head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, the most dynamic international community within Islam. The community was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in Qadian, a small and remote village in India. He claimed to be the expected reformer of the latter days, the one awaited by all major world religions. Founded in 1889, the community has continued to spread throughout the world, flourishing under Caliphate, the system of spiritual leadership established after the demise of the Holy Founder. The current successor of this movement, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, continues the work of the Holy Founder to revive the spiritual and moral state of mankind. The movement embodies the benevolent message of Islam in its pristine purity, a movement that preaches peace, universal brotherhood, and submission to the will of God. Ahmadi Muslims have earned the distinction and reputation of being a law-abiding and peaceful community. Within a century, the movement has reached all the corners of the earth and has been recognized and praised by the global community.
Love for all, hatred for none. Those words from your third Khalifa are more important, more crucial, more essential today than they have ever been.
I am gladdened and inspired by the fact that the Ahmadis not only preach a message of love, friendship and understanding, but practice it fully in the way you include and invite others to share your gathering.
An injunction to love all and to hate none is the avowed guiding principle of the Ahmadi life.
I would thank you also that you have stressed the importance of showing that Islam is a religion of peace, not a religion of hate, as it was stated on the wall in the Jalsa. Love for all, hatred for none. I think that is the message that the world really needs.
That promoting religious freedom is an essential building block for peace and stability here and throughout the world. In this, we are allied with His Holiness, a courageous champion of religious freedom and of peace.
Wherever the movement has been established, it endeavors to exert a constructive influence of Islam through social projects, educational institutes, health services, Islamic publications.
I would like to pay an additional tribute to the work being done by Ahmadis in raising standards in Africa and particularly in education.
The community's many social projects aimed at helping those in need bears testimony to humanitarian concerns in respect of all human beings, regardless of race, colour or creed.
The Ahmadiyyan community have an extraordinary reputation abroad for charitable work in Africa, India, Bosnia and Indonesia, amongst other places. But you'll note your community here too have an extraordinary reputation. You have been generous with your time and resources, and you have made yourselves part of the wider community.
Your own work, Your Holiness, particularly in West Africa, is well known. And we heard just now about your attempts to bring water and energy supplies to some of the poorest communities in West Africa.
Together, we should fight common enemies such as illiteracy, disease, hunger, and poverty. The Ahmadiyya mission has put structures in place towards the fight against these common enemies in order to enhance the dignity of man.
Today, when we, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, raise the slogan of love for all and hatred for none as a means to establish global peace, we do so directly in fulfillment of the teachings of the Holy Quran and the practice of the Holy Prophet. Peace and blessing of Allah be upon you.
And it is an honor to welcome you, Your Holiness. Your leadership has made you a figure of global prominence, and you have become a guide for millions of Muslims worldwide.
Your Holiness, it is undoubtedly a reflection of the blessing that you bring to this capital.
I want to express gratitude for the privilege of appearing here in front of Your Holiness and this assemblage. We're really honored you're here. I was saying earlier that you brought the House and the Senate together. We should have you here more often.
Love for all, hatred for none.
Actually, I wanted to apologize for those for all of you. The podium has been blocking the video, but I really apologize that. So as you can see in the video, our key motto that all of the Ahmadiyya Muslims follow all over the world is love for all, hatred for none. Not just, we just don't follow it, but that's something that we try to follow and practice in everything that we do in our daily practice. So one of the key things that we've started by our President Khalifa's guidance is a campaign called True Islam. And you can see the exhibition all around you, which I hope you get an opportunity to see afterwards as well, in each of the points, in terms of the points that we've created, that Islam wholly rejects all forms of terrorism, all the way to the need for unified Muslim leadership. Again, our Imam Sahib will go into that in more detail. At this point, I actually would like to introduce Dr. Qureshi to actually come up and say a few words. And just in terms of introduction, Dr. Qureshi is the president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of the Connecticut chapter. He's also the director of Humanity First and serves on a worldwide level and doing a lot of humanitarian activities, not just in Connecticut. We like to keep majority of his time in Connecticut, but he actually travels a lot all over the world and trying to carry out the different disaster reliefs and different efforts that are going on from that standpoint. Dr. Qureshi was also invited to attend the last State of the Union address by President Obama in January of 2016. He's been a great inspiration to all of us, especially to Dr. Qureshi. The first time I came to Connecticut, I was about 12 years old, and so I've known him since then. And so he's been a great inspiration to me and like a big brother. So Dr. Qureshi, I'd like to invite you up to the podium and carry out the next session.
Assalamu alaikum, greetings of peace. Thank you very much for coming today. So today, what I wanted to do was, right after the shooting happened at our mosque, we called the police of Meriden, and they were here within minutes. And we have some members here who were doing their evening prayer who noticed the bullets in our mosque and the bullet holes. And of course there was initially fear, and then the police came right away. And then we had a video, we have monitoring around our mosque, and we looked at the video and we saw that at the time of shooting, somebody called the police, and they walked in the middle of the night and walked around our mosque and put themselves in harm's way at that point to protect us. And then they came that night, and they could have put the yellow tape around the mosque and said, okay, we'll come in the morning and investigate. They did not. They stayed the night. They kept coming. Officers kept coming. Special agents kept coming. Detectives kept coming. There were 4 detectives who worked all night to look at this place, kind of figure out and solve the crime. And ever since, we as a community together wanted to find a way to thank the police department for their service to us, for being there for us, for the security that they provide us. And recently, we are part of the Council of Neighborhoods, so we get the email messages. And we found that there was a need for Meriden Police to have these blood clotting devices, which will protect the officers. God forbid any of them get injured. If you put that device on your body, and I'm being a physician, it will save their life. It could slow down the bleeding. So we didn't want to take away from Meriden's ability to raise funds, but we did it ourselves, and we committed that we were going to do 100 of those. And we figured out that each of those devices were $55. If we would have purchased it, we would not have gotten the better quality ones. So what we did was, because only police has access to, or the authorities have access to getting the professional grade device. So we have, we committed ourselves to raise 100. But by the grace of God, we actually have raised, so the 100 would have been $5,500, but we have been able to raise $6,295 for the Meriden Police Department as a thanks for their service to our community. People keep hearing the bad things about police on media. This is the good message. This is the good thing that they do. And we wanted to highlight that. Just like people say bad things about us Muslims as well. And we want to highlight that this is the good message. This is the good work of the police. And we want to give them a round of applause and thanks. And I'm going to ask the police chief to please come and accept our donation. We couldn't get the devices because we can't get the professional ones. We are hoping that this funds will help save our police and protect them in Meriden, and thank you for your service to us. Please join us. Thank you very much. So these are all checks from different members. Thank you so much. If you want to say a few. Sure.
First of all, thank you very much for having me today. I'm very appreciative to have been invited to this event and to learn more about true Islam. Thank you very much for the donation. With me today, I have Lieutenant Sherwood. He runs our Neighborhood Initiative Unit, and everyone knows Officer Rivera within our community policing area, which is this area. Yes, we did take this incident very, very seriously, and we did deploy maximum efforts in bringing it to fruition. We have a dedicated group of police officers, and we very much appreciate the partnership that we have with the Muslim community here. I would also like to work in partnership, and if you could provide some training, much like we're receiving today, to learn more about the Muslim community and true Islam. We have training for our officers that occur as a routine that they have to attend, and if they could actually make this part of the training so we could better understand what it is exactly true Islam is. And this is very important to us, and it shows to the officers the true commitment from your community to our community. And I just can't thank you enough. I'm overwhelmed at the amount and how easy, I mean, every officer now will be able to have these devices within their possession, within their briefcases, and on them, should something happen, they would treat themselves or someone that is in definite need of a clotting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. And next, I'd like to invite, again, Dr. Qureshi to do the next session and introduce our special neighbor.
So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So the second, group of second guest that is very special to us is Mr. Ted Hakey, who is our neighbor, who I did not go and knock at his door to introduce myself, to tell him this message that we had today. And last week, or last Friday, some of us, through the Department of Justice, through the coordination with the FBI, through Mr. Hakey's lawyers, and I'm hoping he's gonna talk about his feelings in a few minutes. We had a meeting, and it was a very emotional meeting. It was a meeting you can't imagine. We all had tears. Whoever was there in that room, we had tears. Words cannot express that. We will be better neighbors to you, Mr. Hakey. I promise you. We will be better neighbors. And we're going to ask Mr. Hakey that, say a few words. What you said to us that day made a huge difference for us. If you can say the same thing to our congregation, that will make a huge difference. To my congregation, I'm going to ask you to greet and meet and hug Mr. Hakey and Mrs. Hakey, just like a neighbor should be treated just like a Muslim should treat his or her neighbor. We are not going to ask Mr. Hakey why he did what he did, because we know why he did what he did, because he was watching television or whatever, and he never heard this message. But we are going to show him the love that we can bring to him. And I know he can bring to us, because we could see it in his heart, we could see it in his eyes that day and today as well. So with this, I'm going to introduce my neighbor, Mr. Ted Hakey, to say a few words.
I don't really have anything prepared today, and it's been a tough time. I want to just apologize to everybody. I really have no excuses, and I don't think you could imagine the amount of regret I have, and just the heartache I caused for everybody. It brought just discredit upon myself, the Marine Corps, everything I stand for. This just isn't me. And since then, I've taken some steps, and I was drinking that night more than I probably should have, and and that's all done. And I'd like to go forward with learning and helping other people not make the same mistake I did, because for years, as I was a neighbor, and I did have fear, and fear is always when you don't know something. And the unknown, you're always afraid. And I wish that I had come and knocked on your door, and if I had spent 5 minutes with you, it would have been all the difference in the world, and I didn't do that. And going forward, I would like to help you bridge any gaps or help anybody else not make the mistake I did. And I'd like to apologize to the whole community, and it just shouldn't have happened. It's just, but everything happens for a reason, and I believe that there'll be some, I think some good will come out of this. And, I was monitored, of course, I was reading the papers, and when I did read that after this happened, I went to the FBI and I begged them to let me come over and apologize, but they wouldn't let me. This was immediately. And I read in the paper where you said you weren't going to be afraid and you were going to keep worshiping it. And I feel that God is very proud of your whole congregation for that, because you had no idea of the danger, and you all stood up and you came, and I believe God is very proud of that. And I just ask for your forgiveness. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add to this that we, the verses that Zahir Manan recited right in the beginning were the verses of the Quran that talk about forgiveness. And that is our example, and that is what we follow. And Mr. Hickey, we promise you, I know there are some, we follow the laws of the country, and there are some things which we can't change. But whatever we can do to ease the discomfort, and we will do in our power to make it easy for you. And we look forward to being good neighbors in the future and having a close friendship as well. Thank you.
Next, I actually like to speak about a couple of guests who are actually with us, and have them come up and say a few words. First, I'd like to introduce our State Senator Bartolome. Thank you so much for being here today. Senator is finishing her second term in the State Senate. She represents Meriden, Cheshire, Middletown, Middlefield, and Rockfall. I don't even know where Rockfall is. I have to visit that. Sounds cool too. She is Senate Chair of both the Committee on Children and the Higher Education and Employment Advancement Committee. She also serves on Education and Appropriations Committees, began her public service after advocating for children with special needs in Meriden, and served on the City Council. Her focus has always been on protecting our most vulnerable citizens, including children, mentally ill, and disabled. So, Senator, thank you so much for being here, and we're really honored to have you. So, we'd like to say a few words, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Rockfall is part of Middlefield. Thank you so very much. I really am not sure how to express just how honored I am to be here today. I actually was at the Capitol a couple days ago, and some of the ladies in the back and one special little girl were at the Capitol, and they were there to spread the word of true Islam. And so I was racing through the concourse trying to get to my office. I actually had somebody sitting there waiting, and I look out and see some of you now. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this gorgeous little girl in a blue and white polka dot dress with these pigtails. And so I stopped to talk to her, and my aide kept going and came back to get me. And it was really, it was my version of fate, because I got to speak to some of the women from this mosque, and they invited me to come here today. That was really special to me, because as an elected official, we often walk this uncomfortable line of trying to be supportive and trying to be there for people, but also not wanting to be intrusive. And I think I heard a bit when we talked about the police and some of the negative media and religion and people not understanding true Islam. And, you know, as an elected official and a politician, it's often a bad word, right? Because people criticize us for not understanding what we're doing, or maybe say that we're doing something for a reason that we're not. So when this attack on your mosque happened in November, I was actually out of the country. And it was very, very hard to be, I was in Mexico, and I actually saw this on the news. And to be so far from my community when you were going through a terribly difficult time was incredibly hard. But then when I came back almost 2 weeks later, I wasn't sure how to approach you in a way that was supportive and not intrusive. So the fact that I was invited just this last week to come here today was incredibly special. You gave me a gift. You gave me an opportunity to be here and to show my support in a true and genuine way. And, you know, now that I've heard and I've listened and I've met some people, I feel a little silly that I wasn't comfortable coming. When you drive in and you see your message, love for all and hatred for none, and then realize, especially by the presence of Mr. Hakey here today and all that you've talked about, realize how you truly live that message. It's not just a slogan, but it's something that you live by. In hindsight, I feel a little silly for not having come by earlier, so please accept my apologies. But again, I thank you for allowing me to be here today. So I just wanted to let you know that, you know, I did think I knew a little bit about what your religion was, but I'm learning that I knew so very little, and there is so much more to learn. And that I do support the fact that everyone, anyone, should have the right to be safe and to freely worship and express your religion in any community. And I am especially wanting to let you know that I support you. I am so proud, actually, to have all of you amongst my community. And to be here with you today is incredibly meaningful. So I thank you for that gift, and I thank you for sharing your world, your life with me and with the rest of us and with the Meriden community.
Thank you, Senator, for you know, just being here with us, and you know, you should be ashamed that you weren't here before. We're very friendly people. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Look forward to more and more.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That was my. No, but honestly, you know, we're really honored to have you, and for the touching words. You're our neighbor, and we would love to have you at any time, and all of you to actually come at any time and visit us, and equally for us to be part of your congregation and your events. You know, we've been doing both ways. It's a two-way street, and in a lot of the events that we've had in the local churches, we've been going to our neighbors' events, and because we're all part of, you know, one humanity from that standpoint. So, Senator, I didn't really mean that, but thank you so much. No one quote me on that, please. Next, I actually would like to, you know, invite, and actually, Mayor Kevin, when I spoke to him last week, said that he had another event to attend and he couldn't be here, but he did wanted to, you know, apologize from that standpoint, and he's been a great friend even before he became mayor, and he's been with us from that standpoint. With that, I actually would like to invite Catherine Batista, who's the city councilor, to please address us and say a few words.
Wow. I'm sitting there feeling like I'm watching a movie, Mr. Hankey. That brought me to tears, and I'm almost speechless, and that's extremely unusual for me, as the senator will tell you, and our police department, but not quite. I'm on my toes. But this is not my first time. I've been here before, and I expressed before the fact that as soon as I walk in that door, there's a peace here, and I know peace isn't a building, but there's a peace in here that you just can't ignore, and I know it's the people, and I know it's what you believe, and you know, it's undeniable. I live only a few blocks away. This is my community. This is the area over which I'm a city councilor, and I'm so very proud, so happy happy and blessed that this community is here. You're making it safe for us. You really are. And I'm also so proud of our police department, our public safety, our fire department, and all they do, and for Holly and the Neighborhood Association. So I could see everybody being knit together more and more. You know, whether it's bad things happening or good things happening, we're all being knit together because of that phrase. And some of us, I think, wish we could do that all the time, and we can't, but that's why we need each other. So just thank you for letting me be here today, and thank you for coming, sir. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, I know, Ritu, you have an event to attend to, but I'd like to introduce to you Ritu, who actually I've known for the past 6 months, I would say, Ritu. And I've had the honor of actually knowing you. And Ritu is the co-chair of the Central Connecticut Council for Interreligious Understanding, which I'm a member of, and I'm happy to say so from that standpoint. Although I need to try to make more meetings, I know that. But you know, it's the reason that I was excited to actually be part of CCIU is because of the vision. And I won't say the vision. I'll save that to you, Ritu. But I really think that that's a great vision to actually share. And you know, we've got flyers that we're going to hand out to you as well. That's gonna be part of your package. But Ritu, if you can please come and join me. Ritu was born in India and came to this country when she was 13. She went to UConn. That's great. I didn't know that. I went to UConn as well. That's great. And has worked in the insurance industry for the last 30 years. She has 2 boys in college and enjoys travel and reading. So thank you, Ritu.
Thank you, everyone. And yes, Vijit, you do need to attend more meetings. I'm Ritu Zazzaro from the CCIU, Connecticut Council for Interreligious Understanding. I know it's a mouthful, many people in our organization. So we are an organization that was formed in 1994. We are comprised of 9 different religions. And I'm going to have to refer, so I don't forget. Last time I forgot one, and it was a key one at that point. But so I'm going to refer to my notes just to make sure that I remember all of them. So we are made up of Baha'i, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Jainism, Judaism, Sikhism, and Universalist Unitarianism. So we are an organization that got formed in 1994 and then incorporated in 2006 it was. And the main mission of this organization is to really get to know each other from the perspective of different commonalities. And actually, there's a little nuance in this because commonalities are easy to relate to people with. What we try to say and practice is it's the differences that you need to understand and respect and embrace. So that's the nuance in this. I know whenever we do a programming event, whenever we go out and talk to people, everyone is very curious about how Sikhism, which I'm part of that faith, is in common with Christianity or in common with Islam or in common with Judaism. But we also focus and talk about the differences and not just tolerate. We don't like the word tolerate. We like the word embrace. We like the words learning and educating people and understanding, truly understanding folks. We put on lots of different programming events. Last month we had a film festival in collaboration with Wadsworth Atheneum, and we actually put on really good feature films, not documentaries because that only attracts a certain type of audience, but the themes are interfaith, interdialogues. So an example is the last film of the festival was Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, which had Hindus and Muslims, and there was a little conflict going on there, and how the movie handled that. It was a very sweet love story, it ended up being. So that it's an annual film festival that we do in conjunction with Wadsworth. We host dialogue sessions whether they're luncheon dialogues, they're evening dialogues, and we have a series going on right now that started out with 20, 25 people in attendance, and now it's grown to hundreds of people. And it's very timely, and the format is a panel. We call it Honest Conversations with Our Muslim Neighbors. And we have held, how many, Terry? Maybe 13 of them so far. The next one, and I'm going to refer to my dates again, is Thursday, April 28th, and it's at 7 p.m. at St. Joseph's Cathedral. It's sponsored by the Archbishop of Hartford, and please attend if you can. There will be a panel discussion with Muslims, key educators, your practitioners, your everyday type of people as well. The second one, which is closer to this part of the area, is May 5th, also Thursday, in Bristol. And I'm not sure of the location exactly yet, but you can go to www.ccfiu.org for more information. Facebook, Instagram, like us, be our friend, and you'll get all the information you want. So I want to thank you. I also thank Wajid for giving us this opportunity. Oh, one of our big programming events is House of Worship visits, and this is one of this. So we asked Wajid if he could come, bring our different communities, different people to visit. And Wajid very generously offered this session, and I'm sure we'll have more of these. And we do other ones, like in our Sikh gurdwaras, in our synagogues, etc. So one last thing I'm going to say is I was very touched by Mr. Hinckley. And it really, I just want to correlate it back to our motto, and this was a very good demonstration of it. When we understand each other more, we hurt each other less. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ritu. And I actually do want to recognize the rest of the CCIU members that are here, and specifically thank, in addition to Ritu, Greg, for actually working with me and setting this up. And I think we had so many phone calls to actually plan a date and for the CCIU sisters and brothers to actually join us today. So thank you so much for helping out and making this happen. Next, I actually would like to call Stephanie from Congresswoman Estes' office, who's been another great supporter and friend of ours through the past few months. So Stephanie, thank you so much for coming and representing Congresswoman Estes.
Thank you so much. Congresswoman Estes was so disappointed that she couldn't be here herself, but she asked me to come to be a part of this, to share this with you. I just have to say how moving this was. It's just such a moving program, and I wanted to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for all of your efforts, from the donation that you made to the police department, to the blood drives that you continue to do, and everything that you do for the surrounding community, because that is so important. And really, I think that's it. And just thank you for being so welcoming, because this is my second visit here to the mosque, with the first time with the Congresswoman, and this community is so incredibly friendly, welcoming, and loving. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So next, I actually like to introduce our Imam Hamid Nasser Malik, who actually drove from Rochester to be here with us today, and I think he's the one that's drove the farthest, right, Murabi Sahab? Is there anybody here that's? Our regional imam, joins us frequently, and we love to have him as much as we can. Imam Hamid Nasser Malik is the Northeast Regional Missionary for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community USA, and he serves as the missionary and imam for the local region, which includes chapters from Boston, Connecticut, all the way to Buffalo. Imam Hamid Malik is a graduate from Ahmadiyya Institute of Islamic Studies and Theology, an Islamic seminary and educational institute solely dedicated to the peaceful cause of Islam in North America, through striving to improve the beautiful image of Islam and Muslims by providing the authentic information about Islamic beliefs, history, and culture. So Imam Sahib, if you can please join us.
I have my own laptop.
I know.
Can you put it? You got this. Yeah, if you can. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, you can put it. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It is our honor, our blessing to have you join us today. And a special thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Ted Hickey and Senator. And, whoop, things are falling. By the way, that beautiful girl you spoke of, that was my daughter. You can see where she gets her looks. I was saying you can see where she gets her looks. I wanted to make one correction. Wajid said that you have to eat before you go. Well, according to Islam, we can't force you. But you are invited to stay and break bread with us. You know, over 1,400 years ago, 14 centuries ago, there was a young, intelligent man who had been captured and went from house to house, from person to person, until he finally reached a master whose name was Khatija. This was the first wife of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. When she married Prophet Muhammad, she gave this slave that she had gotten from before as a gift to Prophet Muhammad. What was the first thing he did when he got this slave? He thought all mankind are equal. So how can I have a slave? At an instant, he freed him. That man's name, that young, intelligent boy, his name was Zad. But now instead of basking in his newfound freedom, what does he do? He decides to stay. Now, imagine, for those that have children, imagine having your young child taken away from you. How tragic would that have been? So his parents go from town to town. Eventually, their search leads them to Mecca, and they find out that our son is now in Mecca. They finally approach the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and they say that our son is in your possession. We would like him back because his mother misses him dearly. What does the Prophet say? He said, I've already freed him. You're more than welcome to take him. Nothing is holding him or me back from taking you. They finally say, come son, let's go. What was Zad's response? He said, "Oh Father, I love you dearly, and Mother even more so. But this man that I have come accustomed to, this man that I have spent so many years with, I have come to love to such a degree that I cannot even imagine a second away from him." At that moment, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was so moved and said that before this incident, Zaid was a freed slave. From this day onwards, he will be my son. What was it that attracted Zaid and so many others and billions of people around the world today to latch themselves to this prophet? That is a glimpse of what I want to show today. When Prophet Muhammad appeared, there was chaos. As the Holy Quran itself says, Zahar al-fasadu fil bahri wal bar, that corruption had spread in the land and in the sea. And when sea is mentioned, water in spiritual terms means spirituality. So spirituality, as well as other morals, were at an all-time low or a low ebb. Then Prophet Muhammad appears. Even before his ministry, he takes on this pact that helps those whose rights have been usurped to go and fight for them. Until his last day, he kept that pact. Whenever, even after being a prophet, becoming a prophet, people would come up to him and would ask him that such and such person has usurped or has taken something from me and has not given it back. And he would try to help them in that manner. Now, let's see what the Prophet Muhammad was in the introduction. Wajid related that there are certain things that we follow. The Holy Quran being the first, the tradition of Prophet Muhammad, and then the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. I want to take it a little in reverse. Let me present to you the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, and then his character, and then I will give you the translation of the verse that I recited in the beginning. Prophet Muhammad says that لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا ولا تؤمنوا حتى تحبوا أولا أدل على شيء إذا فعلتموه تحاببهم أفشوا السلام بينكم. That you will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love each other. And he says, shall I show you something that if you did, you would love each other? Now, of course, everyone would be waiting as to what the Prophet is going to say. How do you love each other? He said, spread peace between yourselves. Then in another narration, Prophet Muhammad goes on to say, and I will skip the Arabic in the interest of time. He says, richness is not having many possessions. Rather, true richness is having the richness of the soul. And finally, he states that none of you has faith until he loves for his brother or his neighbor what he loves for himself. Keeping that in mind, Mr. Ted Hakey, I love for you what I love for myself, and that is to establish peace within myself, within society, and within the world. And not because I'm a different breed of Muslims or a different breed of Islam that we've invented. I have this because the Ahmadiyya Muslim community follows Islam precisely according to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the teachings of the Holy Quran. And one last saying of Prophet Muhammad, he says, verily Allah is kind, and he loves kindness. He rewards his kindness for what is not granted for hardness, and he does not reward anything else like it. Now, these are the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. What is the example of Prophet Muhammad? We see the tragic bombing at the Easter event in Lahore, where the target was Christians. And by the way, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community categorically condemns all forms of terrorism. We have and will continue to do so. And in fact, if Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was here today, he would be at the forefront of condemning these so-called Muslims, because his example is completely contrary to what these terrorists are doing. Here is an example, a shining example of what Prophet Muhammad and how he established peace and freedom of religion for all. In the life of Prophet Muhammad himself, he established a document called Ashname of Muhammad, peace be upon him. It is a covenant or a testament of Muhammad, a document that is sort of a charter granting protection and other privileges to Christians and the monks of St. Catherine Monastery. It's a document that is sealed with the imprint of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's hand, solidifying his statement. And here is what it reads. It says, this is a message from Muhammad ibn Abdullah as a covenant to those who adopt Christianity, near and far. We are with them. Verily I, the servants, the helpers, and my followers defend them, because Christians are my citizens, and by Allah, I hold out against anything that displeases them. No compulsion is to be on them, neither are they now addressing the Muslims. Verily they are my allies, and have my secure charter against all that they hate. No one is to force them to travel or to oblige them to fight. The Muslims are to fight for them. If a female Christian is married to a Muslim, it is not to take place without her approval. She is not to be prevented from visiting her church to pray. Their churches are to be respected. They are neither to be prevented from repairing them, nor the sacredness of their covenants. No one of the nation of, meaning Muslims, is to disobey the covenant till the last day. Now this is the treatment of Prophet Muhammad with Christians. And had Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, seen the actions of Muslims, I have no doubt it would bring tears to his eyes. But we, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, who claim to follow true Islam as our campaign you will see the banners of, and true Holy Quran, true religion, I would urge everyone to bring us your questions, to open dialogue. And the fact that you have shown your beautiful faces here today is a testament of how openness and how kind-hearted you are. And as Muslims and as humanity, as Muslims who are acting on the life of, or acting on the character, on the example of the Prophet Muhammad, I welcome you. The verse that I recited in the beginning, the translation, and this will be the last point, of the compassion that Prophet Muhammad had for humanity. And it's a verse from Surah At-Tawbah, chapter of repentance, verse 128. And it states that surely a messenger has come unto you from among yourselves. Grievous to him is that you should fall into trouble. He is ardently desirous of your welfare. And to the believers, he is compassionate, merciful. First addressing the non-believers, that to all of you, he is desirous of your welfare. And if what these terrorists want to portray, that live by the sword and die by the sword, or convert or die, how saddened would the Prophet be today if he was to hear this? And this is precisely why one of the verses that was narrated was that it's a conversation that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is having with God on the Day of Judgment, that surely my believers and my servants had thrown a thing behind their backs, thrown a book, meaning the Holy Quran, behind their backs as a thing discarded. And so that's why in the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, as an imam, I continuously tell or try to teach not just Ahmadi Muslims, but all Muslims, to learn the Holy Quran for themselves. Question your faith. Because it's only through knowledge that we can learn about ourselves and about others, and therefore establish true peace and harmony within ourselves and through society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Imam Saab. Next, I actually would like to have speeches from various clergies. And actually, before I do that, I actually met just recently, and you can tell that how such a blessings of God there is that we meet all kinds of people here. So I actually wanted to introduce a special guest that I just met a few minutes ago, who has come from Qadian, and he came about 2 weeks ago. And our founder, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, which is the promised Messiah, who's the promised Messiah that we believe in, is also from Qadian. So I actually would like to invite you to come and say a few words. His name is Darshan Singh Bajwa, and I'm really honored to have known you. I'd like to spend time with you and get to know you better. But please, if you can come and say a few words. Thank you.
Good evening or afternoon. As my friend told you, that my name is Darshan Singh Bajwa, and I made an effort today to get here, and I was lost for 1.5 hours because I went to 410 Main Street in Meriden, and my GPS stopped working. So somehow I am here. And one thing I want to introduce myself also, that Ms. Zaru was here before me from CCUI, and I'm also one of the directors of CCUI, which is a body which promotes interreligious understanding. My religion is a Sikh religion, and as such, we wear turbans, and we have beards. And one of those things which happens in this world, there was a poet. His name was Iqbal. He was a Muslim. And he has a couplet, and I'll introduce that. Mazhab nahi sikhata, aapas mein bayar rakhna. Religion doesn't teach animosity. It teaches love. But somehow, these days, religion has become a tool of violence or something just by a misunderstanding, and some people who are just not understanding what religion is. Anyway, not going into that because there will be other imams and other religious people who will be throwing light on that. The only thing I wanted to share was that after 1947, when India was divided into two parts, and there was a migration of Muslims from one part and Hindus and Sikhs from the other part to India. And in that migration, my family also migrated from Pakistan area to Indian area, and we settled in the village of Qadian. And the best thing there is, I don't know how many of you have visited, I'm asking the Qadianis, and we also call them after Mirza Sahib, Mirzais, and also Ahmadiyas, okay? So in the local language we do that. And they have a garden, Bahishti Bagh. Have you heard of Bahishti Bagh? My land touches the Bahishti Bagh. The land which was allotted to us was from the Bahishti Bagh. And I wanted to share these things, and I'm also married there. So I have two relationships with the Qadianis, okay? And I wanted to just, I was so glad that, and I wanted to meet some people from Qadianis or from Ahmadiyas, and I know some of the history and all those things. And one thing I would tell you, this is a very, very industrious community in the Muslim community. When the first Indian government was made, before partition, there was an election. And the first railway minister was Qadiani, Sar Zafrullah Khan. And then he was the judge of the World Court in Hague. Yeah, in Hague, yes. And they have, this community flourished so much under Ghulam Muhammad Ahmad, who was one of their first prophets, that he made that city as a very modern city. In 1947, which is 68 years ago, if you go into that city, you would see that you are in Paris. There was an old city, and in that time, they had made a college there, and in the whole area there, the whole district, only medical education you could get into Qadian College, which was at that time called Islamia College, and now it is called the Sikh National College. What happened, the way we migrated, similarly the institutions also migrated, and the Sikh institutions were taken by Muslims, and the Muslim attitude were established by, so it's a very flourishing community. And Sar Zafrullah's house had 48 rooms and 48 bathrooms. It's still being used as a office of a department. Okay, big thing. But what I'm telling this, that when Pakistan was created, there were only 250 Muslims which remained there who were Qadianis or Ahmadiyas. At this moment, there are about 5 to 10,000 in Qadian, and they have established some colleges, some hospitals, and they are as a good part of that community as any other Indian is. And we are living there as brothers and sisters. And the situation which is here, I didn't mean to take that much time because I know that there are so many people. I can talk a lot about what that community is and so forth and so on. But I still thank you very much for introducing me and my enthusiasm to come and meet my brothers from Qadian. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Darshan Singh, for visiting us. And I apologize that it took an hour and a half that you were lost. But and now I'd like to say, you said you have 2 relationships with the Ahmadis, but now you have 3. So you know our community, and we want to get to know more of you as well. So next, I actually like to introduce Pastor Norm. who's a great friend of ours for a long time and pastor. I'd like to apologize. I know you needed to leave, and we took a longer time than I suggested. Reverend Norm Edlitson has been the pastor of Third Congregational Church in Middletown, Connecticut since 2007, having spent the previous 17 years at Malby Congregational Church in Snohomish, Washington. He holds a Master of Arts in History from the University of Washington and a Master of Arts in Christian Theology and Ethics from New College, Berkeley, California. With a deep interest in the history of American Congregationalism and the social gospel movement, he has been the president of the Washington Gladden Society since 2004, which seeks to serve as a forum for the discussions of issues related to the church and social justice. In 2015, he was elected to serve as the historian for the National Association of Congregational Christian Churches. So, Pastor, thank you so much for being here and being our friend for such a long time. And I've been getting pinged all the time for people to remind me, but we're passing out index cards as well. So if you have any questions, etc., you can write down on your index card or ask us live at the end of the session. Pastor, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Well, I'm really happy to be here. I can just say to begin with, I love this community. It's been 8 years or so. We met because they invited me to give a little summary of Christianity as a part of a forum. And I found quickly that they not only want to share together in so many ways. The food is especially to be recommended here. But they want to learn and hear as well as to be heard. And their message resonates with my whole Christian ministry in Middletown. I'm the third congregational church. We're not downtown. We're the latecomers, I think in the 1700s. The others were already well established. And so we're on the outskirts of town. The last one, the latecomer, only 250 years old. But we have so much in common. I really feel that, I live by the rule that there will be no peace on earth until there is peace among the religions. And these people live for that. They promote it, and they encourage it, and they embody it. We have had many good discussions, and I have learned a great deal from this community as well. They have gotten me to see that my faith, the Christian faith, also believes fervently in love for all, hatred for none. My faith teaches me the beauty of reconciliation and forgiveness. And we have seen a beautiful example of that today. It brings tears to my eyes. That's what religion is all about. That's how it serves us. That's why it's important. And I'm happy to be a friend of this community and someone to whom I can look for wisdom and direction to help me better live my faith. And so I thank you for inviting me, and I appreciate all of you very, very much.
Thank you, Pastor Norm. Next, I actually would like to introduce our Imam Hazar Hanif Saab, who's the Vice President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Hazar Hanif has worked as missionary for over 26 years at various locations in the U.S., including assignments in San Francisco Bay Area, Chicago, Missouri, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. He also served as a prison chaplain, a newspaper columnist, and a lecturer in schools, colleges, and public forums throughout the U.S. Hazar Hanif is a guest speaker at international religious and interfaith events, and most recently, on the 5th of December, He spoke at the European Youth Parliament in Croatia at Zagreb University. His talk was entitled, "If Islam Teaches Love and Peace, then Why Some Muslim Leaders and Rulers Commit Atrocities in the Name of Islam." He's lectured in Asia, Africa, Central America, and the Caribbean islands. And Imam Sahib, we're really honored to have you today, and would like to have you and address us about the True Islam and the extremist campaign. Like I reminded everybody, we're going to have panel Q&A at the end. More than happy to have you ask your questions live at that point, or if you'd like to have us give you index cards, there are people in the back that can hand those to you if you just raise your hand, and we can you can write down your questions on there as well. Imam Sahib.
So you can see I'm the reason why everyone's standing on their toes. But we'll let them adjust the mic so you can hear my voice. I begin with a basic declaration of faith. We are in a house of God, and this is a house of worship where all communities are invited, and it causes us to remember the greatest and fundamental truth that we believe in one God of all mankind. I begin in his name, who is most gracious and most merciful. I look out in this crowd today of my fellow citizens of this great nation, a nation which since my birth and my childhood, I have been hearing over and over again an expression that we are one nation. We are a nation under one God. This God reminds us not to be divided because he is indivisible. And we stand for principles that attract the entire world, perhaps our own forefathers or families from different portions of the globe, to guarantee liberty and justice for all people. And looking at this first concept and hearing these voices today from the senator, from the police chief, from representatives of government and our clergy friends and our neighbor, I realize that this is still the greatest nation on earth guaranteeing these basic fundamental rights, and we are so fortunate. But we have a common challenge right now. And it's a national challenge, it's become a global problem. There are forces that seek to divide us as a nation and as a human family, and have been bringing all along this journey, making us think that religion is a force that divides us and not unites us. Let's go back a few months when the head of the Catholic Church, equivalent to the Khalifa of our community, the supreme head, he visited our nation. And the outpouring toward the Pope at that time, Pope Francis, was not just from Catholic people, but across our nation there was a genuine love and affection, a genuine respect, and somehow an affinity with this man, because his message as the Pope of the people resonated loud and clear with our common core values and our sense of this justice and unity that we all love. I will quote from his words as he addressed the U.S. Capitol, a joint session, and in fact was addressing the world at large. Excuse me. He said on that day, "All of us are quite aware and deeply worried by the disturbing social and political situation in the world today. Our world is increasingly a place of violent conflict, hatred, and brutal atrocities committed even in the name of God and of religion. We know that no religion is immune from forms of individual delusion or ideological extremism. please let's stop for a moment. At the door, I know some of you left your shoes. Some were putting on the little things to cover the shoes and came inside. But I hope today at that door we also check something else. We check our preconceived notions and left them at the door with all other baggage we tend to carry around, and have come inside here today with an open mind and open heart to embrace the greater family and listen to one another. I've been very happy to hear these words that have been expressed so far. And I want us to think about these words. No religion is immune from forms of individual delusion or ideological extremism. That's a broad brush that paints all of us in human history at some point in time. Let's stop for a moment and think about that. Have we recognized within ourselves, our history, our traditions, despite beautiful teachings, moments that were dark, moments that were ugly, moments that didn't reflect the core values of our faith, moments of extremism, radicalism, fundamentalism coming from the highest office. Let's go back just a few centuries before this Pope addressed our nation and think about the Pope at that time, Pope Urban, who then told the believers to inscribe crosses on their garments, take up their arms, and go forth to the Holy Land to purge it of all infidels. And if somehow you come back alive, you'll get land and you'll get respect, but if you die, you get absolution of sin and you'll go straight to heaven. And thinking about this, when those soldiers entered the Holy Land in Jerusalem and couldn't distinguish sometimes the believer from the non-believer, the infidel from the one who is part of that community, the Pope said, kill them all, God will know his own. I asked you to think about that chapter of history, which I know we want to bury in the past, and we should bury it. It didn't represent that Christ who came with peace and goodwill to all on earth. But stop now and think what we are seeing, constantly barraged by these images. ISIS going into the Holy Land and saying, now put a crescent on your garment, the Islamic creed of La ilaha illallah in Arabic, pick up your arms and go kill the infidels, in this case, the non-Muslim. And if the process of this war and campaign, you should die, first class ticket to where? Heaven, where the holy harps are playing and the beautiful women are waiting and the wines and gobs, all these imageries coming at them, and young men are running forth to join this jihad, and young women are saying, I want to be jihadi bride and marry that man. Maybe I get to heaven too. But I remember Barbara Walters once interviewed an imam and asked him this question. He said, Imam, tell me something, if you die and go to heaven, what do you get? And he says, I'll get all these beautiful virgin women. They said, well, what does your wife get? And he became real quiet. He had to go home that night. Something's wrong with this image. Something is amiss. This is why we're here today. We forget the past and focus on the present, and believe that extreme is in the other camp and not in my camp. It is part of the human family, the human condition, the human challenge and struggle we've all gone through and are still going through. And united, we can defeat this. Divided, we are defeated. I'm overwhelmed by what I see here today again, because this is what it's going to take for us to win this battle. Those who are in part of law enforcement, government, citizens, faith groups, and just friends who come together of any faith. can do more together than we can do alone. Why is this so important? Nowadays, when you hear the word Islam, and it's being bantered about in the campaign trails, it's being used as a tool to gain support at the loss of the ultimate goal of creating peace in our nation in harmony. National survey by Pew Research Center shows 46% of the U.S. adults believe that Islam is more likely than other religions to promote violence. 32% of Americans believe that Muslims should be subject to more scrutiny than people of other religions. Again, we've heard the solutions to these fears that are being proposed now, and we know that we must find a better way to this, because if Europe had decided to do what we're thinking now, Catholics would never have reached America. Nor would many other Christian groups. They would have said, build walls, ban them, kill them, keep them out. That would have been the end of the story. But we see we got beyond that point, and we're here today. In reality, the foremost goal of Islam, the foremost goal of every religion, in fact, is peace and justice and harmony and humanity. As we've said, love for all, hatred for none. That is the core message of every faith. Learn to love God. And if you love God, you must love what God has created, and that's all creation. You cannot love the Creator and hate His creation. In this sense, I turn you again to the words of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. What was his core message that should reflect what I'm just saying and should make us all realize he wasn't a prophet that taught something against universal values. A Bedouin, the Arab nomadic dweller, came to him one day and posed him this question. He said, "O messenger of God, teach me something that will take me to heaven. Teach me something that will take me to heaven." If we were to ask certain Muslim leaders nowadays in these groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Taliban and the Shahab and Boko Haram and going on, what do you think they would have said? What will take me to heaven, sir? Oh, it's easy. Strap on this bomb and go amongst these citizens who are infidels and blow yourself up. You'll go to heaven. Or pick up this arsenal of weapons and go fight, and destroy them. And if you die again, you go to heaven. This is the message we're now hearing. But I ask you to listen to what the prophet of God said when he was asked directly, what is the way to heaven? He said, as you would have people do to you, do to them. And as you dislike being done to you, do not do to them. This is enough principle for you. Now go and act upon it. What do we call this in all faiths? What rule is this? The golden rule. In every single religion, I've read so much scripture, Torah, Gospels, the Gitas, you name them, it's all there. You must treat the other like you want to be treated yourself. That's the positive way. Or at least don't treat the other the way you would not want to be treated. Now step back for a moment and look at all what we've seen in the last 10, 15 years or so, coming from extremists and terrorists and radical jihadists. And you would ask a single one of them, excuse me, sir, do you want to be blown up today? Can I shoot you? Can I rape your wife? Kidnap your daughter? Can I destroy your home? Bulldoze your neighborhood? Bring down your government? Can I do any of this and shout, Allahu Akbar, God is great, and sometimes justify all what I'm doing to you and make you feel this is good? Keep doing it. Would any one of them have said, yes, 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 yes? And we realize why that golden principle is truly golden. I lived first in San Francisco as a missionary, and folks said, Golden Gate Bridge, can I get a ticket there? I said, yeah, but the gate is not made out of gold. Come on down. Golden principle. We are to live our lives by this, and this is the essence of every single religion. The prophet then, before he left this world, is called a farewell address. He was standing in a field with 100,000 of his followers, and he wanted to leave them with a message they would not forget. They say first impressions are lasting, but sometimes it's also true. The last thing you say leaves the greatest impression. What was the last thing the Prophet of Islam said to his followers, and then said, this is for all mankind. It's for people in Connecticut in 2016 as well, not just people who were there in Arabia 14 centuries ago. And he said, tell them who have not been here today what I'm conveying to you. Perhaps they will act better on this than those who are here right now. His final message, and there are so many, is just this one I want to focus on today. Regard the life and property of everyone as a sacred trust. The life and property of every single being on this earth as a sacred trust. Do not inflict harm on anyone so that no one may harm you. This was his final message. And then later he warned that over a course of time, people are going to forget these golden rules and these great messages. And there will be nothing at that point left of Islam but a name. Nothing of the scripture but a book. And nothing of a sanctuary of worship but the building itself. It'll be devoid of the spirit of Islam. In fact, from that building will go forth disorder and disruption and chaos. That's what we're seeing now. But what we should learn from his words, what is Islam? What is religion? None of them have ever preached and promoted and practiced violent disorder. But all of us as followers of these faiths have seen errors in epochs of extremism. Compare his message now, and I'm going to read a portion here of our current Khalifa, Supreme Head, where he compares this beautiful message with the words and the intents of a man who is the leader of ISIS. So we can see terrorism on one side and Islam on the other. He said, compare this with the peaceful and respectful of life with the dreadful proclamations of jihadist leaders such as Abu Bakr Baghdadi, and it becomes apparent why a true Islam campaign is necessary. It is said that this Khalifa of ISIS wants to take revenge from the world and to conquer territories and nations. He says he wants to make the Muslims the masters of the entire world and to reduce all non-Muslims to slavery or to being the property of Muslims. He says that punitive action should be taken against every person who offends a Muslim in any way, and that Sharia law should apply to every single person in every single land. He desires to take away the rights of women belonging to other religions or sects, to suppress them and turn them into concubines or force them to become their wives. ISIS seeks to destroy every religion or sect that differs from its beliefs and wishes, to remove current Muslim governments and seize power from them. This is what we are now worried and fearing, and trust me, in this apocalyptic scenario, Muslims are suffering more than non-Muslims. Begin to think, how many people died in our nation on 9/11? How many, roughly? 3,000. 3,000 people died. And that was a human tragedy. And we had the right to take up our arms and express our disgust with this attack. But now I ask you, how many Muslims have lost their lives and lost their homes and been sent into refugee status and have their governments and nations crumble and fall since 9/11? Millions, hundreds of millions, Egypt, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, it goes on, Mali, Nigeria, all these nations where Muslims were living in peace and harmony. And I lived in Pakistan in 1980s. All my years living there, and it was 6.5 long years. Do you know what? There was not a single suicide bombing in all those years. There was no ISIS or Taliban or Al-Qaeda or in any of these groups. All those years. And now it is a daily experience of bombings, kidnappings, mosques being destroyed, people being martyred because this is one sect against another sect. And all this madness has taken place and has destroyed the Muslim community. It reminds us in history, again, if we will go further back, and some may not know this, but if you know the Jewish history, there was a point in Jewish history when they were trying to fight against the Roman dominance, the Roman government. And they wanted to establish what? The Jewish state in Jerusalem. Christ came along and said, don't try to fight them with weapons. Fight them with your spiritual weapons, which is prayer and patience and persuasion. For he who draws the sword will die by the sword. They began drawing the sword. What the result was, in the course of these campaigns of trying to fight the Roman Empire, their temple was sacked and destroyed, and pigs, the worst thing a Jew can think and imagine, were slaughtered in their house of God, the house of David and Solomon. They were driven into exile status and killed in the hundreds of thousands in those ensuing campaigns, and had to leave Israel and did not come back until 1947, almost 2,000 years in exile. I see history. When I was a student in school, I hated it. Muslims are now facing these extremists who are dragging them in a direction. A battle is going on right now for the soul of the Muslim world to follow the Khilafat of this community who is saying love for all, hatred for none, or a Khilafat of Abu Bakr Baghdadi in his life who's saying hate all and kill all and God loves you in the process. We need to recognize this has been a global phenomenon. And again, I appreciate all of you coming out. This is where it's so important to have this meeting. It's so critical to have you here, Police Chief and Senator, and our other friends who have come out from different congregations and part of the community. Because I take you to another Pew Research that showed, and I quote, among Americans with little knowledge of Islam, fewer than half express favorable views of Muslim Americans. But, by contrast, among Americans who are relatively more knowledgeable about Islam, more than 6 in 10 express positive views. The struggle with that is 60% of Americans have still never met a Muslim. That's people, even in officials. 3 days ago, I was in a gathering like this, and a armed service official stood up and said, I was so happy to meet your community and so happy to join this program because before this, I had never really ever engaged personally with any Muslim. So what the chief has said is so critical, to know the community and know the people and diffuse the stress and strain, and the fear and the hate that can exist by ignorance. familiarity breeds contempt. You've heard the expression, right? Familiarity breeds contempt. But here's a case where familiarity breeds respect. It creates harmony. It engenders love and brings us together. Last year, if you recall that incident in Paris, and the whole issue then became freedom of expression. We should have the right to abuse and attack and mock anyone we want, even God's prophets, including your prophet, O Muslims, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In May of last year, a group of citizens went to the largest mosque in Phoenix, Arizona, on their holiest day and Friday, and stood outside in protest. On their shirts were defamatory and insulting remarks against God's prophet Muhammad and Islam. And in their waistbands was not love and peace. It was what they call in the Western world the peacemakers, if you know what I mean. I don't think that's what Christ meant when he said, blessed are the peacemakers. But they had those peacemakers in their pockets, just in case. But it was provocative. It was intense. It was a day where there was a standoff. On one side was 250 men who came on motorcycles, and on this other side was about 200 people, citizens like yourselves and Muslims, standing in front of that mosque to stop them from coming inside. And it went on for hours, and the news went there, television was there, and they're trying to see how this would end in a peaceful way. But one thing happened. Sometimes in the midst of darkness and at the most dire moments, we find that's when God shows up. And on that day, a young man in that crowd who had been full tilt in favor of those bikers and standing with them with filth on his shirt and speaking out against that mosque and those Muslims to defend the tyranny, America, from the tyranny of Islam, the Imam invited him, come on inside. Join us tonight and let us observe how we pray and sit with us and read our scripture and see what our message is. And that young man said he took up the offer and went inside the mosque and sat down with the people. He later commented and said, it was the most peaceful group I had ever imagined. They were praying and worshiping God. I read their scripture and began to realize that my previous thoughts were all false and wrong. And this is why today, as many have said, I was so touched by my neighbor who came and walked across his yard, entered this house with his wife to sit down and be in this gathering. That's where and when and how the change will take place. It will not be through the newscasts, the Twitter blasts, the Facebooks, all that impersonal stuff. It's human contact and interaction which lets us know this is a human being. I can feel their love. I can sense their peace. I can know they're good. And I can go out and tell my friends and my circle of relations, you got it all wrong. I thought that way they were extremists, but I realized they're peaceful. I thought their message was hate. I see it's love. I thought it was about kill, 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 but it's about being kind and compassionate and considerate. And now I can change my view. I want you to change yours too. This is how we begin to change the world. This is how we defeat ISIS. This is how we create peace and love and harmony in our nation and our world. It's so critical not just for us as a nation. It's critical for our next generation of Muslims who are going through this battle right now, especially our youth. Our message, therefore, is not just to the American public, but to the American Muslim. And as our president said, we must be more vocal, visible, and vigilant in rooting out extremism amongst us. I can't expect you to all do that, but I must take the role. Why? Because it is also recognized that in the process, these are the youth who potentially get radicalized and go forth to Syria or someplace and then come back home. We saw the result of that in San Bernardino. in Paris, in Brussels. We saw it a week ago in Glasgow, Scotland, where a member of our community on Easter Day sent out a Twitter message that all my friends are Christian, we love you on this day, may we all have the peace of Christ in our hearts. And just by saying that, some radical immigrant came and attacked him with a knife, stomped him to death, and left him bleeding in the street. All of us are potentially a victim of extremism. All of us can be potentially a proponent, an advocate for removing this. In 2008, and these are my last two comments before we come to the question and answer session, a report was filed by MI5, the British Intelligence Service. They prepared a briefing on those who become radicalized. Think about what they say here. Far from being religious zealots, a large number of those involved in terrorism do not practice their faith regularly. Many lack religious literacy. It means they can't read their own scripture or have not read it in any language, and could be regarded as religious novices, meaning they don't know the basic things you just learned here today about faith, 6 articles, 5 principles, etc., etc. They know nothing about this. And just going back again to Brussels, if you examine the lifestyle of those who were the attackers, you'll be shocked to know that they were involved in gambling, drinking, dating, womanizing. All this stuff was going on up to a few weeks before they so-called got Islam and went to kill somebody. Their whole life was against the principles that stood for Islam and His Holy Scripture and Prophet Muhammad, and yet we think they represent both these things. And this is the case since 9/11 up to now. Look at all the hijackers in 9/11. They were in bars. They were doing all kinds of strange things, drinking, smoking, doing whatever Islam says don't do, they were doing it. And yet they committed these acts. And we realize, as the survey concludes by saying, a well-established religious identity actually protects against violent radicalization. When you know God and know faith and practice true religion, true Islam, it is the thing actually that protects the person and the population from extremism and radicalization. Americans sometimes, a certain group fears the spread of Islam. I'm saying to Americans, you should want the spread of true Islam. This will secure our nation, protect our citizens, and create a world of harmony. It's critical for all of us to recognize that. In the end, therefore, I ask you to consider that this is not a Muslim problem or a European problem or Middle Eastern problem. This is a global challenge, and I invite you to come forward in the spirit of America. I invite you to unite with us, to join us, to recognize that we must continue to have these conversations and these dialogues and these meetings and work together toward a common goal against a common foe. And the campaign of True Islam and Extremists talks about fundamental points which extremists often will try to utilize to radicalize and excite the passion in others. And all these points are those points which they pervert, but we want to teach so that the Americans know and the American Muslims know what is the true path of Islam. Again, I thank you for this. I know it's a tremendous goal in front of us, a great challenge. But as I keep saying everywhere I go, people ask me that, Imam, how is that possible? How will you do that? You have all this campaign going on and you're a very small group. Or others are not joining in and you don't have any groundswell. And I say, yes, we have to create a mountain. We have to create a mountain. That's what it seems like. But there are two ways of building a mountain. Pick up a huge slab of stone and stick it somewhere. I'm not that strong. I can't do that. Or all of us can take one pebble and throw it on the pile. And over the course of time, those pebbles will keep rising and building and will become that mountain. All we hope to do in these meetings and interactions is add one more pebble to that pile and take one more pebble from the pile of hate and extremism that's trying to be created elsewhere in the world. If we can do so, our mountain will rise higher than the mountains of those who wish to create hate, and this is the message that will go forth and resound loudly in the world. I again thank you. I appreciate your coming out. May God bless us all and help us and keep this a nation, one nation, under God, that protects the life and liberty of all. Amen.
Thank you, Imam Saab, for the inspirational words. And now I'll actually, am excited to announce Senator Blumenthal, who joins us. Thank you so much, Senator, for taking some time out of your busy schedule and being with us here today. Senator Blumenthal served an unprecedented 5 terms as Connecticut's Attorney General, fighting for people against large and powerful special interests. His aggressive law enforcement for consumer protection, environmental stewardship, labor rights, and personal privacy has helped reshape the role of state attorneys general nationwide and resulted in the recovery of hundreds of millions of dollars for Connecticut taxpayers and consumers each year. Senator, we're very honored to have you here today. If you could address the community and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very nice to see you, and thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for giving me the honor of being with you today. And I want to thank all of you for being here to talk about this critically important topic, which relates to the obligation we all have as members of the Connecticut community to make sure that we are true to the principles and ideals of tolerance and peace that all of us share as ideals. I was Attorney General for 20 years, as you've just heard. And I remember in the days after 9/11, I went to the community as a law enforcer. As Attorney General of our state, I had been a federal prosecutor. I was the Attorney General of the state, to assure that we would enforce the laws to protect rights of people to worship as they wish, to say whatever they please, to gather as we are doing today. These ideals are principles of our Bill of Rights, and they are ideals and guarantees that we give to all people. And one of the principal guarantees that all law enforcement has the obligation to enforce is to make sure that we protect people against intimidation and violence. And so when we come together today as Americans, one of the great ideals that we stand to uphold is peace and tolerance. And I went to all of the religious groups that were gathered in the wake of 9/11, and I said, we are going to protect these rights and ideals, no matter what your religion, what your race, what your background. And in today's world, when some of our leaders speak in ways that seem to condone intolerance and to exclude people from America. I'm very proud that we are a nation of immigrants. I'm very proud that we are stronger. In fact, we're the greatest, strongest nation in the history of the world because of our diversity and because Americans practice different religions, and people of different religions fight for our country. Two of my sons have served. One is serving now in the Navy, another served in the Marine Corps in Afghanistan. And the people who serve with them are of different races and religions and backgrounds to defend the nation they love. We are Americans, regardless of our race, our religion, our background. And I'm here proudly to say to you that that should be the ideal of the United States Senate, where I serve. It should be the ideal of every person in public life, because it is not only our Constitution, it is also our fundamental core beliefs as a nation. It's the principle on which we were founded. It's the principle on which the original immigrants to our nation came here. And whether they came from Europe or Asia or any other part of the world, and my dad came from Germany in 1935. He was 17 years old. He spoke no English. He had nothing more than the shirt on his back, and he knew no one. And this country gave him a chance to succeed. He was a refugee. And we should welcome the diversity of this great, strong land and protect the right to worship, protect people's rights to gather peacefully and tolerantly, and be proud that we are Americans dedicated to that fundamental ideal. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you today, and God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.
I know we're over a little over with our program, but I promise we saved the best for last, and we'll have a dinner soon. What I wanted to do is just go to the next agenda item, which is panel Q&A, and we have our panel here with our senators and also our Naib Amir, the vice president. So I've got two cards with already a couple of questions. Again, if there's questions that you don't want to ask live and you want to write it down, just raise your hand, and a few of the folks will come around and give you an index card with a pen. We've got a wireless mic as well that we'll pass around here. And I know, Senator Blumenthal, you need to leave.
I have to leave in just about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, great. So if there's any questions that people have for the senator, since he needs to leave, please let me know. And again, we've got a mic here, so Shakiba, if you can just help people with passing around the mic. Any questions that people have for the senator?
I won't be insulted if there are no.
Okay, great. Yes, Senator, we have one question. Yes.
Thank you, Senator, for joining us. As an imam of this region, what does the state or the government, promote or want imams to do to help protect Americans from extremism? Now, we've launched this campaign, but what do you suggest that we do more to protect Americans and the security and liberty for all?
Well, I think you can educate your congregation. You can educate the people who look to you for guidance. And, of course, leadership by example is the most powerful kind of leadership. And so if you can convey the message, and I know you do now, but continue in the way that you have to assure people that the leadership of our nation is also adhering to these ideals. And I just want to say how grateful I am to not only the people who've come today, but all of our law enforcement that has participated, the Meriden police who do such a great job in this community, and they've investigated any examples of violence with great diligence and dedication. We're fortunate to have in Connecticut police and prosecutors that are really dedicated to the rule of law. We're talking here about the rule of law that is bigger than any single person. And so I hope that you, as leaders in your community, can encourage people to come forward if they see violations of law, and to know that we can trust the law. Thank you. Well, again, I want to thank you all. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Imam, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Senator. And I actually wanted to ask if anybody had any questions for Senator Bartolome as well, because she needs to leave. Although we would have loved to have you for dinner, but rain check next time. So if there's any questions for the Senator, so that she can leave as well. If not, Senator, I just wanted to humbly thank you for joining us, and I think this is a start of a great relationship, and we'd loved having you here today, and we would love to have you in the future. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, and thank you again for having me. And I just have to say, the Imam's teaching was truly amazing. I learned so much today, and I think that you all are setting an amazing example, and again, showing love and forgiveness and understanding, and I just think this was a fabulous opportunity. I don't mean to offend the dinner, but I was told 3 to 5, and I have another engagement, so I'm so terribly sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, I actually would like to invite a couple of people. Imam, Regional Imam Saab, if you can join us for, okay, sure. So I'm actually going to take questions. So I have a couple of questions already for Imam Saab here. The first question, Imam Saab, is please explain jihad, why some or all Muslims misunderstood it or misunderstand it, and start killing in the name of jihad.
Yes, thank you. Now, I realize that you have been engaged in a jihad for the last 2.5 hours. And that means you have very patiently, quietly, and respectfully sat here and listened to us speak. That's jihad. That requires effort. And I know some who are older or who have other engagements are thinking, enough jihad, let me go. And I don't want you to say we were held hostage in the mosque. Huh? And then I get real problem when I go back to my bosses, you know? But the reality of jihad simply means exertion. The Arabic term means exertion. The word for killing is qatl, it's a different word altogether. And war is harb. So all these words have been merged together into one concept of holy war. And we know there's nothing holy about war. Look at the suffering we have endured in the process of jihad, as I said. Millions of lost lives, so much destruction. This could not have been what a prophet of God advocated as a way to spread faith. It spreads hate, fear, insecurity, and the overall revulsion with religion. So jihad was instituted because the Prophet of Islam was persecuted for 13 years in Mecca, and then left and went on a migration to a city 200 miles away from Mecca and tried to settle down and live in peace and practice and profess his faith without any let or hindrance. But a outside force came to invade that city of Mecca, and God told him then only. Because prior to that, he was asked sometimes by his colleagues, his companions, that, "O prophet of God, when we were not Muslims, if someone offended us, we would get revenge, we would fight back. Why can't we fight now?" And he would tell them, "I have been sent as a mercy for mankind, not to spread blood." In this case, however, God said, "You must now stand up and defend the right of every human to profess and practice their faith freely. And if you don't do so, every church, every synagogue, every place of worship will be in danger in the future of being attacked and destroyed, and no one will have these human rights." You know what? That's the American story. We now defend fundamental human rights. One is the right of freedom to profess and practice your religion. And we have gone to civil war and other wars to protect this fundamental right, only when it's being challenged. So it's a right to defend, but not defend liberty, but not the right to offend and take life. That is the unfortunate part about the jihad of the other group. They think it means to force, compel, and coerce someone to accept the faith. The jihad of Prophet Muhammad was to protect and defend the right of everyone to practice their faith. This is what we hope will spread as a greater and greater understanding. And this started over 100 years ago by the founder of our community to protect that right again and to signal to the Muslim world, this is the only jihad of this age. Other than that, use your pen and use your mouth to convince people, and that's enough. So I'm going to shorten my answers because, as I said, between me and the door and food is my answers. The time was 5 o'clock, so if there are just some more burning questions,
Sure.
we'll take them. Otherwise, I think we should wrap it up and be kind. The prophet of God said also to be considerate of your guests. And he was very hospitable, so I want to make sure, we told you a time of starting and ending. We want to start and end. This conversation has just begun. Let's continue it in food and outside and going forward. I'll talk all night long, but by the time I finish, there'll be no one in chairs. That doesn't work.
Okay. May I just add one more point? If I could just add one last point, I hope that's the last point. The founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, here is what he wrote. And this is His Holiness Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. He wrote that this belief, meaning to spread faith by war and sword, is detrimental to Islam. No religion has to resort to force when it is capable of establishing its truth through rational arguments, undisputed testimonies, and heavenly signs. On the other hand, no further argument is required to falsify a religion which does not possess the qualities and turns to the sword to compensate for its own weakness. Such a religion is in effect slain by its own sword.
So again, keeping respective of the time and of the guests that are here, we're not going to take any more questions right now. Again, we'll be around for dinner and we can do one-on-one questions with you. I did want to read one thing that I just received from one of our members, which I think echoes a lot of the people that are here today in our community. And this person writes, I want to welcome Mr. Ted Hickey. We are very pleased to have you among us. I want to share something. This person writes that I wish and prayed that a day would come that you would come to our mosque and feel the love we have for humanity. Thank God he answered my prayers and you came, and with you came all the great guests too, and thank you for that. So thank you. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for coming and being with us and showing the love and being our neighbors. We'd like to break bread with you and join us for dinner, but thank you all for coming.